never been done before.
We the people tell the government what to do. It doesn't tell us. We the people are the driver. The government is the car. And we decide where it should go and by what route to do. We the people are free. And I hope we have once again reminded people that man is not free unless government is limited.
Oh, God, look at me. Left myself down in the corner again. Hello, how are you? How's your day been? Not been too bad here. A little cool, and thankfully I have the Tasmanian grey jacket on to keep me warm at night. It does come in very, very handy indeed. Got a lot to talk about tonight, but first of all, I want to cover off something that we've just discovered in the chat. If you're just joining the show and you haven't read back through the previous bits in the chat, and I think the chat's been going since about 5:45. One of our wonderful family members and the people we love to try and help as much as possible, Sandy and Baz from the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary. Oh, I should bring my microphone a bit closer, eh? Oops. So the Donkey Sanctuary have had a loss today. Not a donkey, but a pony. Katie, her name. And we just found this out in the chat, and a lot of people are wanting to send their love and support, of course, to Sandy and co. I'm about to show a picture that Sandy has sent me. That's the reason the show came on a little bit late, and I'm going to show a photo. Animals grieve. Maybe many people aren't aware. Animals grieve their loved ones just as we do. Sometimes more so. Elephants in particular. But there are so many other graphic signs of the grief that animals go through when one passes that's close to them. And this is the trouble that Sandy is having today. Nibbles is standing there. That's Nibbles still with us. And Katie, who has passed, that's the vet in the background. Now, it's important, and we learnt this with a variety of tragedies. I think you'll be familiar with Achilles, Cass's dog, dying, and then we had Kelly pass away as well under difficult circumstances. And it was important to let Kobe and at the time Harvey, another little staffy, be around them so that they could grieve. And I can tell you that Kobe, after Achilles passing, Kobe found that very, very difficult, and is only now, I would say, returning to himself. He's a bit happy, I think, that he's seeing his mum again. But he's been a very depressed dog since Achilles passed, and then Kelly, and then Harvey moved away. So he went from a pack of 4 down to a solo, and that, was a real issue for him. So Cass spent a lot of time trying to put him around with the dogs that he knows, because he's not real good with the ones he doesn't, although he's much better now. Times where I've taken him out walking, he's been bloody awesome. But yeah, animals grieve, and they all grieve in a different way, and I'm not sure how long ponies are likely to grieve for. And I did see the comment, Rachel, that you made in the chat offering your services to see what you could do. Sandy, you don't have to say please send it on. I already have. So I hope that helps. And Sandy, I know loss at the Donkey Sanctuary is not uncommon. Maybe that's the way that we say it. Not uncommon. And it's not that you are hardened to it, I don't think, in any way, shape or form. It is just that you see a lot more of it than many of us do in the chat, and it'll affect our Voice of Freedom family, I'm sure, dearly. So I can see that you've been sent a lot of love, and that is as it should be, because you're a beautiful lady, and your husband's not a bad bloke. So really, you've got a lot going for you, just between you, me, and the gatepost. Anyway, condolences, and I hope Nibbles can move on, as we all must, when these tragedies occur, especially so unexpectedly. So unexpectedly. Now, speaking of unexpected tragedies, we talked about our former police commissioner, federal police commissioner, resigning rather mysteriously last week. Now, there's been some suggestions made that he wasn't retiring or wasn't resigning. He was resigned. In effect, he was sacked, and the new female federal police commissioner has been instated. Sworn in, I guess, is the best way to describe that. Now, why, if he was to be sacked, and I'm not suggesting with any proof or evidence that he was, why would he be? Well, could it be because he wasn't playing the game? Could it be because he refused to sign off on certain aspects of things that have occurred in the last, 6 to 8 months that might have something to do with a caravan full of explosives? And because of his refusal to go along with the fabricated story that was being put forward, he has been replaced. Now, who would have the power to do that? And cast your mind back to the fabricated stories of the day. The biggest lie, the biggest beat up that Australian media, particularly Sydney media, could get a hold of was, graphic examples of how big the bomb crater would have been had that caravan gone off in the city or gone off at a synagogue or gone off wherever else. It was to instill fear. It was to create a certain mindset to protect the Jewish people because, there's these mad bastards with caravans full of explosives that want to go and blow them up. And then at the time, there were other synagogues in Melbourne, churches, schools, I think, maybe 2 or 3 in Melbourne, and a similar amount in Sydney that had some light damage done to them by, when it comes to vandalism and that kind of thing. I mean, schools usually get burnt down. If you've got a pissed off student or something like that, they'll set as much of it on fire as they can. These synagogues had their front doors set on light. I'm not sure that any of them actually burnt to the ground. It's possible. But there has been a great deal of evidence produced that suggests these were false flag events, that the rather low IQ'd people employed to do these jobs were employed by agents of the Israeli intelligence service. And a lot of that has been tracked and made public, but you won't find it in mainstream media because the mainstream media aren't going to go and tell you. If you're a young journo looking to get up in one of the TV or even the radio networks, not that the radio networks actually really do news these days, particularly the FM ones, there are no investigative radio reporters anymore, and I doubt that there are too many television-based ones if they want to have a career, if they want to make a name for themselves, if they want to actually have a bit of stardom and power, then they have to play the game, and they have to play the game very, very strongly. So questions, will they be asked? I don't know. Now that our former police commissioner has gone off to play golf, I mean, he'll probably, if he keeps his mouth shut and does the right thing, probably get a nice, interesting little job in some, South Pacific country somewhere. I just found it all a bit interesting that the timing of his removal, if you like, let's call it that, or his immediate desire to resign, happened to coincide with Kash Patel being in New Zealand, either before or just after. And in New Zealand, they opened a new FBI office. And I believe that there are a number of investigations going on via that office surrounding COVID-19 and or everything that was in place with that. It certainly seems like it's a well-funded office by the sounds of it. They've got quite a number of agents who are moving to New Zealand. And I wonder whether or not they've done similar here and we just haven't been told about it. I mean, we are part, as was New Zealand to an extent, of the Five Eyes Agreement. So there should be no secrets between our intelligence friends, surely. But watch this space. I think we're going to see and hear a great deal more about that in the days and weeks ahead. All right. I'm just going to try and get through a couple of things quickly here. Here's an interesting one that's popped up from the notice. Illegal immigrant granted bail over an alleged park rape in Queensland. I've tried to find out a bit more about that story, given that the Mackay courthouse is in the background there. I've rung some people that I happen to know at Mackay Way, and they're saying that they haven't heard anything about the bloke being released on bail, much less him being an illegal immigrant. So if anybody happens to know anything more about that and you're up that way, please drop me a line, carl@vofhq.com. You might remember the other day that I showed you, and I think you can download it yourself, the Durham Index. Now, these were classified pages of the Durham report that were never released publicly until Tulsi Gabbard and co. decided to release them a couple of weeks ago. It turns out that there are 14 pages from the declassified index that are missing. I wonder why. That's going to be another question we're going to need to ask. This is going to get very interesting. Chuck Grassley, who is the head of the House Oversite Committee, has said thumb drives containing unreviewed info on Clinton email scandal and mishandling of highly classified info have been sitting in an FBI offshoot office since 2018. Chuck sent a letter with the House Intel Chair Crawford asking Director Patel to review materials and report back as soon as possible. It appears that they're not mucking around. Both Kash Patel and Pam Bondi have been called to give evidence before the House Oversite Committee. I believe that will happen very soon. Also interesting are the Clintons. Both of them, Bill and Hillary, have been called to present evidence to the committee, it is a committee, over Jeffrey Epstein and their relationships to him. And when I say relationships, I mean that. They had plural relationships with him. There was personal relationships. There were the personally private relationships that particularly Bill would share on the Lolita Express and down at the island. And then there were the political part of it, which I believe Hillary was much more involved in. Bill was easy to get. Young girls got him, but they got Hillary with a whole heap more evil stuff. So, that's going to be interesting. The Clintons have to front, and okay, the Democrats that sit on that committee signed the document to get the Clintons subpoenaed. So you've got to say the Democrats that signed it are at least trying to put forward a display of, let's hear what they have to say. It'll be interesting to see what sort of cover that the Democrats on that committee run for the Clintons. If you're not used to watching US committees and the House committees, they have a back and forth and question time, and everybody gets a limited time to speak. So some of these senators ask questions and cut off the answers because filibustering is an old pastime in there, and they speak shit for 4.5 of the 5 minutes that they are meant to be actually telling the truth. I don't know how Congress is going, or this committee is going to square that with the Clintons, but I would suggest that the grand jury investigation that is just started from Pam Bondi's Department of Justice will play a very large role in that going forward. And I can also tell you that in the last, 10 or 12 hours, 11 new hours of video footage from outside Jeffrey Epstein's cell has been found. And, wait for it, there is a shadowy figure dressed in prison uniform walking up the stairs to Jeffrey Epstein's cell, or at least to that floor. A shadowy figure. Now, I'm not trying to cast any aspersions here, but maybe the stairwell was not well lit. Maybe the man in the prison uniform was a black man and sort of blended into the shadows a little bit more than a white fellow would. And what's so unusual about a prisoner or someone in prison uniform walking up a set of stairs? I haven't been able to watch anything further beyond that at the moment, but this shadowy figure dressed as an inmate. Okay, I guess what we have to find out is what is the shadowy part of shadowy figure. And yeah, well, could be the case. Donald Trump is staying well out of everything that is going on in this regard. These legal releases, the declassifications that are coming from the Director of National Intelligence. Of course, there would be some oversight from the White House, but not necessarily Trump. Trump cannot be seen in any way, shape, or form to be putting forward any evidence here. He is essentially the victim and just needs to wait until the evidence is gathered. And I'm sure they're taking statements from him and have been taking statements from him at various different times. But he has to stay hands off with all of this. And he is doing a very, very good job of that. It's a pity he couldn't keep his hands off Gaza and stay away from Israel. Trump's political base at the moment is eroding. And so we are seeing these big declass releases, and there is more coming later this week. Trump has been quoted as saying that he let Hillary Clinton off the hook in 2016, and he shouldn't have. And they came back and they did exactly the same thing, only to him, and they did it worse. And now he's decided that no, there'll be no holding back. It is what it is. We will let the laws decide what is treason, what is sedition, what is a coup. And so far, most of the top brass have, in the Obama administration, are covered. Now, if you'd like to learn more about all of this, then I would, let me just copy and paste this into the chat so that you can have a look yourself. This is the website of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, and this will take you to the page that outlines all the evidence against Obama. But I'm going to just read a little bit of it for you here. The stunning revelations these intelligence documents expose should concern every American. There is irrefutable evidence detailing how President Obama and his national security team directed the creation of an intelligence community assessment that they knew was false, promoting a contrived narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump win, as though it were an election to help Trump win. As though it were true, I beg your pardon. The documents that were released show how they did it, manufacturing findings from shoddy sources, suppressing evidence, which is always a good one, evidence that disproved their false claims, of course, disobeying intelligence tradecraft, and withholding the truth from the American people. In doing so, they conspired to subvert the will of the American people and worked with their partners in the media to promote this lie to undermine the legitimacy of President Trump. This kicked off what would essentially be a years-long coup against the president, which included federal investigations, 2 impeachments, FBI raids on his homes, arrests of senior officials, smears and harassment of President Trump and his family, and more. The American people deserve the truth and accountability and justice. The integrity and therefore the future of our democratic republic demands it. Could not agree more. Now, there's a lot of key points, but these are a couple of interesting ones. Putin's principal interests relating to 2016 election were to undermine faith in the US democratic process, not showing any preference for a certain candidate. Putin chose not to leak the most damaging and compromising material on Hillary Clinton prior to the election, instead planning to release it after the election to weaken what Moscow viewed would be an inevitable Clinton presidency. Now, if Russia wanted to help Donald Trump get elected, they would, of course, have released the material prior to the election to harm the Clinton campaign. The material about Hillary Clinton that Putin chose not to release before the election included possible criminal acts, including details of secret meetings with multiple named US religious organizations in which State Department representatives offered, in exchange for supporting Clinton, significant increases in financing from department funds and the patronage of the state in dealing with post-Soviet countries. DNC emails detailing Hillary Clinton suffered from psycho-emotional problems, uncontrolled fits of anger, aggression, and cheerfulness. What a mix. Clinton was allegedly on a daily regime of heavy tranquilizers. While she was afraid of losing, she remained obsessed with a thirst for power. Now, do you remember Hillary was on stage giving a speech in the lead up to the 2016 election, and she froze? Just like the screen does here. She froze. And then this guy sort of walks out on stage behind her, stands behind her, and just to the side of her, and is talking to her, is whispering to her, and she's holding on to this plinth and or lectern and looking straight ahead. And he jabs her with a needle. And almost instantly, she starts off again. Do you remember that? Interesting in the light of what Putin is saying there, don't you think? Just found it a bit interesting. Microphone, Carl. Yes, I think we got there. I've pulled that. Oh, I should get down to where you are all actually talking. I've got my notes up here on the other screen tonight, so if you're wondering what I'm looking at up there, there is going to be a meeting overnight. Well, tomorrow morning our time, maybe, or tomorrow, by lunchtime our time. Anyway, tomorrow there's going to be a meeting at the home of the Vice President. And at that meeting are going to be some very interesting people. Susie Wilkes, the Chief of Staff from the White House. The Vice President will be there. The Attorney General, Pam Bondi, will be there. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche will be there. And the FBI Director, Kash Patel, will be there. Now, that interesting Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche, he's the guy that Donald Trump had as a lawyer during his impeachment process. And he is the guy who did the interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell for 2 days last month, where she supposedly gave details on 100 names that she brought forward. Now, in that period of time, it was let out that she may or may not have asked for a pardon. I don't think there is any appetite for a pardon for her, at least at the moment. However, she was being held in a maximum security prison in Florida. Now, just for whatever reason, nothing's been made terribly clear, but in the last week, she's been moved to a new prison farm, if you like, a much more comfortable prison, designed usually for prisoners who are on the verge of release. And she has been moved there, a much more salubrious accommodation. She was driven with one stop, apparently, on the way. And I want to say it's in Kentucky now where she is, but I could be wrong. At any rate, the administration is still saying she is not going to get a pardon. But I would think that can change, given there could be a lot of bombshells in those 100 names, should they ever become fully public. And aren't we all praying to the good Lord above that that actually happens? Because I think with those 100 gone, the whole house of cards has to come tumbling down very, very, very quickly. Right. Now, let me just go back to my little pictures and things of great interest here tonight. There are a couple of other things I wanted to show you. This is an interesting one. And this is said to be the world's first floating prison, just launched in Singapore. Now, I think that could be quite an overstatement. It might be the largest, but it's certainly not the world's first prison ship or floating prison. And that one seems to have at least 2, maybe 4 helipads. It looks like it could weather a pretty good typhoon, which is, I guess, what it's got to do. And I would like to see a lot more of that without being up close and personal to it. I'd like to know a lot more detail about it, I would have thought. I'm just going to skip through a couple of these little things that caught my eye. This has been an interesting story in the last few days in the US. Researchers had been planning to test dimming the sun. Wow. And they wanted to avoid scaring the public over it. Really? So they didn't bother telling us. Explain to me the logic of solar power and wind energy and how wonderful it is and how it's going to be our future, while planning to dim the sunlight hitting those panels. Both are huge movements, okay? Both are huge movements and are diametrically opposed. How can success be derived from this plan should both be funded, and they are? How can it be viewed as anything other than an abject failure at best, or at worst, an attempt to kill a vast amount of people on this planet? Billions of us with starvation. Now, the companies behind these projects, they need to be brought public. And of course, DARPA, I'm sure, has been involved in some of it. I'm sure our CSIRO has been involved in some of it. Every green-infested, deep state-funded scientific organization in the friggin' world is part of it. They should all be dragged out and made. I was going to say to apologize, but there is no point, is there? I mean, seriously. So disappointing that it is. This moron, apparently legitimately elected by the people of this country. If you believe that, I got a bridge in Sydney to sell you. He has decided that without any thought to what it's going to do to this country, has decided to open the immigration gates a little bit wider, especially to students. Now, they went to the election saying that they were going to bring the numbers, immigration numbers, back down. Student numbers have been increasing since the jab or the spicy cough time, where everybody had to go home. The universities were going broke, and that's why the doors had to be flung open again. And only this time they have been flung wider and wider and wider. What the government is saying is, oh, we're still not back at the numbers we were before the spicy cough. But what our housing industry is saying is we are well over that. And why is that? Well, that's because all the ones that came over prior to the spicy cough didn't go home. or a great many of them, didn't go home. And that happens a lot with our international students. They come here, they barely go to school, they find a job, or they have relatives already here who give them a job and give them cover. And all of a sudden, we have a country that isn't Australia anymore. All thanks to the communist bastard and his mates leading the country. I am absolutely friggin' disgusted. Now, I have to reload my screen here for a moment, folks, because it seems to have jammed up and not allowing me to move things. Or is it? Oh, maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I might have to remove a picture. Yeah. All right. Well, it is giving me something I can show you. Okay. How often do you look up at the moon? So the moon, I love the moon. I love taking pictures of the moon. And should the moon really exist, would one day love to go and visit it. Doubt that's going to happen while I'm alive. But apparently it happens when you're dead. Just saying. Now, there is a plan afoot. And it's a plan that has already had hundreds of millions of US dollars put into it. And that is to build a base on the moon. Now, for those playing along, you're probably already saying, oh, come on, Carl, there's already bases on the moon. Yes, there are. I know. The problem is America doesn't have one. The Chinese are building a base on the backside of the moon. There is thought that the Russians have been doing that for quite some time. However, America does have a presence up there. It's called Space Force. Now, I don't know how big that is or what it is or all that kind of thing, but if you believe all the people that say they've been there, it's going to be a rather interesting place. But now they want to expand. Now they've got to look at, well, why are we there? Yes, it's a great launch point for places like Mars and what other planets you want to visit in our solar system. Maybe go and explore the galaxy. But what are you going to do? How are you going to build all that infrastructure? Well, the plan is to put a railway up there. I shit you not. Now, Northrop Grumman have been granted a government chit to figure out how to make a lunar railroad. And like anybody sucking hard on the government tit, they have grasped it with both hands. You can see here their mission statement: surface transportation, lunar-derived materials for cislunar and Earth. So they're talking about mining, obviously. On this page particularly, they're outlining revenue and revenue sources and this kind of stuff. In fact, they believe they'll get $20 million a year just out of funerals, people wanting to go and have their ashes thrown on the moon. They've gone into this quite seriously. They've even gone up to, drawing some pretty significant documents and talking about exactly how they would go about compacting the lunar soil, because they don't really know how hard it is. My big question would be is if you had one of those big, vibrating rollers up there, wouldn't the moon ring like forever? Be like doing a drum roll on a gong. Oh, that's right. The moon isn't hollow, is it? No? Okay. They've even figured out how they're going to link it all together. And it won't be with you and I or us, we the people, building any of this infrastructure. This infrastructure will be built by robots. One would assume also being designed by Northrop Grumman. And here you can see just how the process gets laid out. I think one of the other, no, I can't quite see it. I'm going to refresh my screen. I may disappear. I'll have to come back. Hang on, folks. Right. That seems to have got me back. And I have a modicum of control over my thing again. There we go. All right. So here you can see what they're planning to do. They need to obviously build the track, maintain the track, and figure out what sort of loads they can put on those tracks. And here is the communications concept of it all. The manager, being the thing on the right-hand side, would be in control of everything else. The surveyor, the excavator, the hauler, the compactor, and the assembler. This is a very, very, very detailed plan, and it is available for you to go and view quite publicly at Northrop Grumman. Now, did I save that website? Oh, I think I might have. Let me bring up my page here. I did. I'll just copy this and post that into the chat too. So if you want to go and have a look at just what Northrop Grumman is being black funded for at the moment. Well, it's actually not black funding, I guess, is it? Because it is quite openly stated on their website what their plan is. But my question to you is with that, how are you going to go when you die? Would you like to have your ashes thrown on the moon? Is that something you'd be interested for? And is that something, given that they're planning on making $20 million a year out of it, they might only get one flight a year. So you might have to go into ash storage for a year before, I don't know, their rocket goes up and does a little loop. Which brings up another interesting question. For those of you playing along and have followed MH370 and the revelations of its disappearance, you may or may not be aware of the video, the vision that shows a jet being surrounded by 3 orbs, and those orbs are rotating around the jet, and then the jet disappears. Sort of a teleportation device created by 3 UFOs, or whatever they call them now. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll try and dig it up and play it for you, but won't happen tonight. If we have teleportation devices that can literally transport, what was that, a 777 aircraft from place A to place B like that, why aren't we sending shit to the moon like that? Why are we faffing about with chemical rockets and, you know, all the other bits and pieces? Nobody can still answer me why rockets don't go straight up. They sort of go over and follow you. They disappear over the horizon on a clear day. It's all a bit weird, isn't it? Questions. Never enough answers. Oh, crunch. Well, I'm only just coming into the chat. What are you going to be in heaven for? Yes, well, the sinful earth it is, and all I can say is get good with God, folks. God in heaven, not the one that these evil satanic bastards would preach to you for. That's an interesting observation. You don't trust anything the USA says about space. Russia. Russia does say some interesting things about space. And NASA does stand for not a space agency. So people think that that's wrong and just a bad joke, but I can assure you it is absolutely right. Oh, there we go. Cunning's onto it. Luciferians, thank you. I was looking for the word, Angie. Yep, 100%. No, get good with God, folks, because God in heaven is the only way forward. If you're not a believer in the rapture, if you don't understand what we're talking about, get a little bit of knowledge. If and when the rapture comes, and it's quite a weird thing for me to be talking about, I've got to be honest. If and when the rapture comes, it's the good people that go. The rest of them stay here to suffer, and they will suffer. God's wrath has been demonstrated before, and we are digging up new evidence of it around the world every day. Strange buildings materializing out of mud that has been in place for thousands of years. We've got the Pacific Ring of Fire burning. We've got earthquakes, tsunamis. We've got mountains, sides of mountains collapsing and rolling down into valleys. We have mudslides. We have New York City under a meter of water in the middle of summer. Subways flooded. Watch the water. Watch the water. Oh, hang on. Swagger. The fact you don't understand that rockets have to go up need to match the Earth's rotation makes you deliberately ignorant, shames me for following you. Swagger, well, you may have a point. Maybe you've answered my question. What I don't understand is the angle they have to go at. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I appreciate you following me. But if you find it all too hard, then great. I don't claim to have all the answers to. You clearly have a reasonable proposition. All good. One day let's have a talk about the ones that go straight up and why they seem to blow up at a certain stage. Funnily enough. It's just strange. There have been some that go straight up. I fully understand that you want to match the Earth rotational speed. In fact, my first thought would be you'd want whatever gravity you can use to slingshot yourself out of the gravitational forces of the Earth. And to do that, you'd need to go around it. So you're right. And I'm thinking that that's probably how they managed to get the moon rockets to the moon. I'm guessing. I wasn't around at that time. Oh, actually, I was, but I was very young. What else have we got going on in here? But thanks for that comment. I appreciate that. You are dead right. I'm just trying to go through and grab a few of your comments here, folks. I'm seeing there is a bit more that I have. I can... Oops, where are we? Find my right book again. There we go. So yeah, Albo's is, I told you about that. He's raising the cap for students, another 25,000. So that'll make it 295,000 students, overseas students, will be coming into Australia this year. Do we have 300,000 students of our own going to university next year? Is there room for them? How hard is it for Australian kids to get into university, especially the ones that don't have money? Asking for a friend. Now, what I found interesting was that Jason Clare, who is the bloke responsible for this bullshit, I think, has come out and said that international education doesn't just make Australia money, it makes us friends. Well, I guess that's quite true, because a lot of these friends they meet in university go on to take or be part of political organizations in their own countries. And as, the days roll by, some rise to the top, some rise to the middle, some don't rise at all. But if you've built those friendships, if you've built those relationships, then that aids your trek up the ladder just a little bit. But I would say 295,000 students next year, given the current housing crisis in this country, what is Albanese and the Communist Party really trying to do? They're trying to throw more of us out on the streets. They're going to make more of us homeless. They're going to make renting an impossibility for most people. In fact, I was talking about this only this morning in the survey with a lady, and she was saying that she knows someone who's paying $700 a week rent for a 2-bedroom apartment, nowhere special in the world, right? Like not sitting on the edge of the beach or up on a beautiful hill with a beautiful view. It's just a little street, back street in a suburb. $700 a week. She said, I don't make $700 a week. I don't know how people pay for it because the wages aren't going up. Well, they might be if you're hooked up with the CFMEU. Apparently, they've had a bit of a win somewhere, particularly in southeast Queensland. Council workers, apparently. Southeast Queensland council workers are now the second highest paid. Good for you. You're the ones that go and tear up the tents of the people that are homeless on the Gold Coast streets, aren't you? Got yourselves a pay rise. Bully for you. It's just disgusting. I know. I mourn for humanity because I really do think this has been playing a lot on my mind recently. Well, last month. You can't shake people awake. I was talking to one of you today. He's at his wit's end. He's right at his wit's end. The lies, the deceit, impacting everybody's life. And for whatever reason, many people refuse to tell the truth. There is no truer word said than the truth will set you free. You just have to be brave enough to speak it. And there are very definitely a lot more people willing to speak and act in that truth. So I hope, and I will continue to fight, and I pray for a swift end to this, because so many of us are suffering. And I'm not really referring to me here. There are much worse off people than me. And one of them's in the chat. At least one of them's in the chat. And I'm grateful for the position that I am in and that I am able to help some others at certain times. It gives me a great warm feeling to be able to do that. I don't feel great. I don't want a pat on the head, and that's why I don't really talk about it. But what I want to say is, if you try it, you'll like it. And when it comes to telling the truth, sometimes the hardest truths to tell are to our closest. And we can tell a truth without hurting someone. All right? It's how you approach it. Don't start off with, to be honest, because usually what comes next isn't. So I hope that I can educate myself to be able to empower others to open their eyes before it's too late, to see what's going on, because there really is an awful lot going on. You'll notice that Ukraine and Russia is blending into the background again at the moment. Israel and Gaza blending into the background again at the moment, because there is a huge pushback around the world from the people who don't want to be fed this bullshit anymore. Journalists are now being forced in certain countries to do their reporting from a green screen because they can't go out and show their faces in public. The people want to stone them. And I don't mean by passing the bong. So I've got to believe that things are moving forward in the way that we would like. And then the inevitable conclusion to that is that at some point, it's all got to end. And if you follow this good book, it will tell you how it's going to end. Don't be there at the end. Right? Get good with God. Sooner rather than later. Because the world is going to shit. And I reckon by Christmas time, we're going to see a lot of big changes in the place. A lot of big changes in the place. All right, folks. I'm going to love you and leave you for tonight. I've had a another interesting day today, and I plan on another one tomorrow. Now, tomorrow will be, let me get it right, Thursday. I'm going to see my mum tomorrow. She's hurt her arm, so I'm going to have the X39 patches down to her, and we'll see what sort of a difference that makes on her shoulder. She's turning 90 in December, my mum. She's decided now that maybe she shouldn't be reaching up to the top shelf for a 2-litre milk bottle, or maybe doing a few other different things, chopping up palm fronds. She won't let me do it. Just wait till I get down there, Mum. No, I'm doing it today. Right, good, no worries. So anyway, she's been like that all her life and still plays 18 holes of golf every week. So, or tries to. She didn't this week. She had a sore arm. So I'll go down with the X39 patches and see if they can make a difference for her, as I know they have for many of you. If you haven't tried them out, and if you are feeling a little bit off and you have a few aches and pains, you can get them from that address there, lifewave.com/VOF/enrollments/packs. And if you don't have to sign up to anything there, you can come on as a I forget now what it is, preferred. I think it's a preferred customer. You just come on and buy your own stuff. You don't have to sign up to anything. Don't get added to any list or anything like that. You do pay the same price as I would pay. So if you've got a need to get a patch, go and get them. Use that link, and good luck to you. I pray and hope that it works for you, as it has for so many others. There are the odd few that we haven't really seen improvements on much, but by and large, and when I say by and large, I'd say 98%, if not more, have been successful. And sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes a week, a month, a year. It depends on what's wrong with you and how much there is to fix. And some of us have got an awful lot wrong with us, just between you, me, and the gatepost. So hopefully Mum will get a little bit fixed up by those. Also, if you can help us out, the Good Samaritan Donkey Sanctuary and the Voice of Freedom, we have a lottery. I think, let me see if I've got a screen up here with what it's got on it at the moment. What we have at the moment is, I think, a little over 300 tickets left to sell. So 414 are sold. So you do the math. If you'd like to buy a ticket in that, I will post this in the link. It is also in the description below. And we would love to give you $750. And of course, the sooner we can give this one away, the sooner we can get to giving you a bit of gold as well. Can't wait for that for draw number 5, but we got to get draw number 4 out of the way first. So 336 tickets left. At $2 a ticket from that link there, folks, you can buy a maximum of 20, and we look forward to being able to send you $750. We look forward to being able to send Sandy some bucks, because she's always got mouths to feed and hooves that need trimming, and we might be able to pay a bill or two around here. We can't thank you enough for your support. Oh, and Friday night, I've got to talk to Vince. I'll try and line this up. I've got to speak to Ainsley Bullion and see if they're okay with it. But Friday night, I might get Vince, if he's able, to push the buttons for the show. And I will pop in from the opening of the Ainsley Bullion showroom on the Gold Coast, which is happening this Friday night. So we'll do a little... show. Well, not a show, but I'll hopefully have Michael with me for a bit of a chat, and we can talk about the new opening and what it means for folks on the Gold Coast, how to get a great deal on some gold and silver bullion. If you bought silver yesterday, as I know certainly one of you did, and I've got to say, Craig, you probably did pretty well out of it too. Or a couple of weeks ago, it was a bit higher. But silver has jumped again today. It hasn't jumped hugely. It's gone up about $1, sitting at 58.37. But watch this space. Gold sitting at 5,208.41, and the gold silver index is sitting at 89. We have seen it down at 87. We'd like to see it a lot lower than that. And if you are in the market, of course, for some precious metals, then head to ainsleyBullion.com.au. You can buy it all online, and they'll deliver it to you securely. And just remember to put my name or the Voice of Freedom in the notes section there, and you'll get a little bit of a discount. Same if you go into their office in Brisbane or in Melbourne, and very shortly on the Gold Coast, just mention my name, and they'll make sure that you get that little discount. Every little bit helps. I don't know of any other bullion dealer in the country that's going to give you a discount on buying gold, silver, and platinum, but Ainsley Bullion will. AinsleyBullion.com.au. Now, I'm going to close tonight with my Dickhead of the Day story. And boy, was this a doozy. So I had to find myself heading down into the Gold Coast this afternoon. And before we got into Nerang, sort of on the edge of Nerang, the car in front of the car ahead of me was all over the road getting into a turning lane. I mean, it was all over the road. I thought, oh, gee, that's weird. And we were turning right, and I watched it turn right really badly and drive down the middle of two lanes and swerve. And so only had to go maybe 200 metres until we got to a roundabout, at which point it didn't give way to a car that was in there, but managed to stay to the left of it as they both went around this roundabout. And by that time, I'd decided that whoever was behind the wheel was under the influence of something rather bad, because the dickhead driving was extravagant. So what do you do in these sorts of situations? Well, I wouldn't want one of you to be killed. And I was one car behind this moron. And who knows? Others could have been hurt. So I rang the cops and rang 000. They got the cops. And I'm talking to the 000 operator describing what was happening. And can I tell you, folks, it was hair-raising. Travelling at the speed limit, which was 60 k's for the most part, this person couldn't stay in a straight line. When it came to a roundabout, the second roundabout that we came to, they dived into that roundabout far too fast. The car understeered to the outside of the roundabout, where there was a husband, wife, and a baby in a pram walking on the footpath. Now, thankfully, there was a barrier, one of those metal barriers, right where this dickhead would have bumped the gutter, ridden the gutter, and run over the top of them. Thankfully, just kissed that and bounced back out onto the road again and kept on going. I would love to hear that call played back, because I was quite animated. Half a dozen times this person has run off the road, has driven up onto median strips, has nearly hit a tree on a median strip at one point, has nearly collected another car at a third roundabout. And then the piece de resistance, they decided that they were going to turn right at an intersection that was probably 300, 400 metres ahead of them before you could get into the turn right lane. And they hit the traffic island that was separating. There was a sort of a U-turn area, and they hit the traffic island so hard that it shattered the rim on the car, on the front right-hand corner of the car, and the wheel shot across the road. Thankfully, it didn't hit anything in the two lanes of traffic that was oncoming. Shot into somebody's house, smacked into a big wooden paling fence that now has probably a dozen or more broken palings in it, and then bounced back, hit a car, and wound up lying in somebody's front yard. Who was at the wheel? Well, I pulled up behind this person. The fellow that was right in front of them didn't. He got away. But I pulled up behind this person, and it turns out that it was a young female, mid-20s, maybe early 30s. She was definitely under the influence of something, and it was not doing her much good at all. The coppers turned up a few minutes later, and we left. So I don't know that she would be having a great night tonight, and certainly waking up tomorrow morning and wondering where her car is would make her my dickhead of the day. And I tell you, folks, they are out there, and they are bloody dangerous. Stay away from the dickheads. Look after yourself. Let's talk tomorrow.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back.
Does anybody else want to stay?
Let's rock!